Welcome to Backroom Talk.
Should we get into this live episode of Backroom Talk, Carl?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I think we're going to start with some Q&A, right? We had some questions come in on Instagram. So I probably should have them in front of me so I don't have to just try and pull them out of my brain. But
I remember the ones we chose.
You remember them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, so the first one would have been how to build a. So there were two questions that we're going to put together.
Yeah.
It was how do you educate the market on individual design and what individual design is, and the other question was how do you build a sustainable fitness business. Both fairly challenging questions to like fit into a 5-minute Q&A on YouTube Live, but like everything else, we'll try.
Let's give it a shot. I mean, given that you teach coaches and gym owners to do this inside of CCP and also like our accelerator program, do you want to start trying to tackle one of them?
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about individual design and how to educate the market on what it is. And essentially, I think that the coach was asking that question because they want to acquire more clients. So you know, the first thing that you have to look at is what are you doing in your model? Are you doing that thing online? Are you doing it in person? And the type of people that you have inside of your ecosystem now, even if it's a 5-person client base. And we always say start with the clients that you're working with now, right? And we talk about this in Business Accelerator. It's like, what's the easiest way to acquire a client? It's always through a referral. So it's always tapping your network first and then reaching out to the masses. And it's almost like you can answer that question by just doing that, right? Where it's like, how do I educate the masses on what individual design is? You get more people doing individual design. And you know, we're going to talk about it relative to our definition of individual design. You have a coach. That coach controls your exercise, behavior, nutrition program. You have a consultation, blah, 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 right? So the more people that you have doing that thing, the more likely others are going to realize that you're doing that thing inside of your business. So it would just be to acquire more clients. And now it's like, how do I acquire more clients? You tap your network. So the people that you're coaching right now, people inside of your inner circle, a little bit outside of your inner circle, and then now you have to start actually marketing, because that's what it is, right? It's like we tap our networks, and then once our networks are tapped, we have to get like really tactical, and we have to think about, okay, how do I now educate the market as a whole as to what we do? And I think we get lost in the marketing aspect in this micro gym or micro model, where it's like we don't need to educate 10 million people on what we do, or that coach doesn't need to educate 10 million people on what they do to acquire the 50 clients they need to be really successful. They just need to give a really great service and tap their inner networks, and that's the benefit of being a micro model, is that you don't have to compete against Nike, Apple, and all of those guys that do need to talk to millions and millions of people.
Yeah, I mean, people ultimately, like when it comes to communicating it, people don't really care that they're going to get this like great periodized program and that you're going to assess this and this movement pattern. They care that it's going to get them results, right? So you need to show social proof of that. And if you have clients, those small select few that already know what you do, they're bought into it and they're doing it and you're getting them great results, they're putting that out there and talking about you're encouraging them to talk about like how great a time they have coming to work at your OPEX or your individual design gym, and their friends are seeing that. Their friends see that they're getting results. They're having fun doing it. They love their coach. They talk highly about the relationship. They don't necessarily care about like the ins and outs of what individual design is. Understanding that has to follow, right? Like you don't want to lead with we assess and we consult and we, do the 3 Ps and then we give you this individualized program in True Coach. Like what does that mean to the general market? They want results.
Yeah, I think you hit a good point there. It's like if we were to define what good coaching is, right? It's like, how would you define that? Results would have to be a part of it, but that's not the only thing, right? Like I would say that if I was being coached by someone, I would define that coach-client relationship as more of a feeling than a results thing, where it's like, oh, I'm getting this thing, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting faster, I'm getting leaner for the rest of my life. It's not really that, right? It's like there may be pockets inside of that relationship where those things are important, but a coach-client relationship or a service offering inside of the model It's more of a feeling that you give your clients, right? If a client's like, I just really love my coach, it's like that's what you're going toward. You're not going for, my coach is always there for, to guide me to lose that extra 1% of body fat. So I think a lot of coaches, like you're saying, get caught in the we do this for you, we do that for you, we do this for you. It's like, why don't you talk about the feeling that you're going to give that person?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so much, it creates that emotional connection, which is ultimately like what sells a product or a service, is like feeling like it's going to change you and change your life in some way, and give you a feeling that it's just going to benefit you on the other side. And then the other thing is, like, people, unless someone has done individual design and like knows what it is, just saying what individual design is doesn't mean anything to them if they have no reference point for that. So if someone is coming from, like, let's say someone walks into your gym and they're coming from like a group fitness model, how would you explain what you do by connecting it to something else that would make sense to their brain?
Yeah, it would have to connect with them, right, and why they walked in your door, right? So it's a really easy conversation. Someone walks in from a different model, and they're like, hey, I heard about you from this person or this thing. I want to learn more, right? It's like dig into why that person is there. What are they trying to get out of fitness? And then connect what you can do in individual design to help them directly, right? It's like, where did other fitness programs fall short in getting you to that goal? Because you're here today. So either you haven't tried to attack this goal, or you tried and you fell short, and you fill the gaps, right? It's like, okay, I was at this gym and I wanted to get stronger, right? Like let's just say that was the goal. I wanted to get stronger, but we would do Metcons 6 times a week, and I did strength in the corner after our Metcon after I was really tired and I had no coaching and I had no idea what I'm doing, right? It's like, you can directly connect what you can offer them to fill that gap. So I think it's a gap filler for everyone, because it's individual design, it's personalized fitness it's called that for a reason. So you have to connect how that service can help them based on what they're trying to get out of that service.
Yeah, like what you're describing there is really like sales consult 101. Like, figure out what the person's pain point is and how your service addresses that pain point. And again,
and if it doesn't, if your service can address that pain point, you have to just say that.
Yeah.
Right. So if a client comes in and they're like, I was diagnosed with bipolar disease and I've tried all of these things and I don't know what to do, it's like, don't say individual design is going to fix that. Right. It's like, we want to support you physically, right? And like, I'll be there for you mentally and emotionally to have these conversations with you. But, we're not out there curing bipolar disease or anything like that. So I think coaches have to be careful on that as well, where it's like, it's not the fix all. It's not going to fill all the gaps, but you have to find the gaps that it can fill.
Yeah, if you make promises that you cannot fulfill, it just ends up being a terrible situation for the client and for yourself as well, because you're trying to be that person that you're not, and no one's happy in that situation. So, guys, I hope that answers the question of how to, message individual design a little bit more effectively. If it doesn't, let us know and we'll try again.
I think just to wrap it up, I would just say, big points out of there is to serve the clients that you have right now really, really well. That's it. Like, serve them really well. And when it comes to acquiring clients, tap your inner circle and your client's inner circle first, before thinking about marketing strategies to get your message out to the public.
So what you're saying is there's no super secret, squirrely, spidery, silver bullet hack to growing your client base, except for having great relationships, getting people results, and having an awesome service.
Yeah, I think that is the secret sauce. And it is for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't even think about that. Yeah. They're just like, what do I post on Instagram? What does my content calendar need to look like? What do I do in stories? It's like, yeah, people don't really care about that, right? Like, if people are going to come to you to get fitter or for you to help them reach their goals. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess backing right up into that one, the second question was related to creating a sustainable coaching career. Am I hitting it?
Yeah. So, take everything that we just said in that last conversation and add some more business aspects to it, and think about how you're pricing your service. Really, start to look at this thing as how much money am I making per hour as a fitness coach, right? And, a lot of coaches have done this and they've gone through this practice and they get to the end number and they're like, I'm making less than minimum wage, right? And it's like, okay, are you charging too little? Are you working too much? Are you extremely inefficient? Like what's the problem here, right? So for something to be sustainable, it has to be exciting, it has to be fulfilling, and it has to take care of you, right? It has to pay you enough for it to actually be sustainable, so you're not trying to do this other thing on the side. So usually that's like if all of the other things are taken care of, like, you know, I'm a coach that knows what I need to do to give my clients a great service and all of that. It's like you have to look at how are you charging for your service? What are the systems and processes in your service? And start there, right? And if a coach says these are the systems, these are the processes that I have right now inside of my business, they're already ahead of the curve because they have systems and processes in place. There's no such thing as perfect systems and processes. Again, especially because we're in this micro gym model where, you know, I think we try to mimic a lot of bigger players in business where we're like, we need to systematize and automate everything. It's like, no, you don't. You have 15 clients, you have a lot of time, and your model is actually good because of the personalization and the personal touch that you can give your clients. So don't try to automate everything. If you think that you need to automate everything or you don't have enough time to give a personal touch, bring on another coach or bring on a manager or someone that's going to run your facility and someone that's going to be that person. Because in this model, and I'm just speaking to this model, in this model, if you're trying to build this thing to, you know, 2,000 clients and no one gets a personal touch, they just get an automated email from your CRM that automatically puts their first name, and that's like the personalization touch. Like you're approaching this thing all wrong.
So I want to dig into like the money side a little bit, because you said if you're making enough, and I think a lot of coaches, or especially newer ones, they're sitting there thinking like, what can I make as a coach? Like, what is a realistic wage, annual salary that I'm going to be able to make in this industry? Like, is it 30K? Is it 300K? What do you believe like a coach is able to make?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question.
I know.
Yeah, no, but I'll try to answer it. You know, we have coaches that make $250,000 a year, and we have coaches that lose money every year. You know, and if you're looking at this from a business aspect, whether you're a brick and mortar gym owner or remote coach, it starts with your expenses and your expense structure, right? So, you know, every good business person will tell you to minimize your expense structure, especially coming out of the gate. So look at that expense structure and look at, you know, what is it going to take for you to get from red to black, and how long is that going to take, and are you willing, can you stomach that amount of time, right? So, you know, when we take gyms through Business Accelerator and they're onboarding to become an OPEX gym, and you look at their expense structure and you're like, hey, you know, you're gonna go 12 months of in the red where you're not going to make profits, and then, you know, based on your forecasts and projections, month 13 you should now be in the black, and now you're starting to pay yourself. And the question always is, can you stomach that? Does that sound good to you? And in the real business world, if you were to tell a business owner that they're going to start making profits in month 13, their eyes would light up, because that's unheard of, right? But that's the benefit of this micro model, you know, group fitness, remote coaching, individual design, is that you can make profit really, really quick. But because that's the case, really, really quick means immediate to a lot of coaches. And quite frankly, that's just not possible for most people unless they kind of slow play it, where it's like, you know, I'm going to get 10 clients, and then I'm going to get into this facility. And then when I get 20 clients, I'm going to get this additional amount of equipment. But everyone wants everything at once, right? So they come to the gates and they're like, okay, I'm in the red by 100K right now, because I had to have this perfect facility. I had to have this great equipment. I had to have this awesome CRM and scheduling platform and all that. And they're just like, you have 0 clients. Why are you spending money on that yet, right? So going back to your question, how much can you make? You can make a lot of money, right? Or you can lose a lot of money based on how you approach this thing. And, you know, a lot of money is relative to a lot of people, right? It's like we have gyms in our system that make what other gyms would deem not enough, and they're happy. They're like, I'm making $6K a month in profit, and I'm good. I have a family. It's enough to take care of me and my family. I coach the right amount of people. I have great relationships with them, and I don't want to scale to 150 clients. And then we have gyms that are making $40,000 a month, and they're like, I want to make $80,000 a month, right? So enough money is just so relative to what that coach wants out of this thing.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting, and I do want to talk about that a little bit because I think we use this word sustainable. That means something a little bit different for other people, for everyone, and ultimately, like, we're thinking about sustainability. It's something that makes us fulfilled, makes us happy, lets us live the life that we want to live with the means that we want to be able to kind of afford that life. Why do you think some people have that desire to grow to 80K, and why are some people just happy where they are, you know, being able to look after their family? Like, what is it? What do you see in those folks that accounts for that difference?
Yeah, I think you know, let's look at like the 80K people. I think there's a couple types in there. I think there's people that think they should be making 80K because the other person said they were making that, and they're like striving for this thing that they think they want, and when they get there, they're just like, shit, I don't really care. I'm not even happy, right? Or you have the personality type where they're just like, I'm a grower, right? Like, I just want to grow this thing, and they have a plan as to what they're going to do once it's grown, right? They're like, I'm going to sell this thing, or I'm going to take a step back because I grew this thing to such a you know, a valuable asset that we're making so much cash that I can step away and coach 5 people, bring on a manager, and I can just kind of be like the puppet, right? Where it's like, you know, I'm kind of organizing this thing and not thinking about culture and thinking about bigger picture ideas. So I think it depends, but I think most people want to make more money because they think they should. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know that didn't quite answer the question specifically, but I think there's different reasons as to why people want to make more money.
Yeah, no, that was a good answer there. I find what motivates people in their career fascinating. You know, some people are working for a big paycheck. Other people are more focused on like great relationships and just fulfillment in their day to day. That doesn't mean they're not going to make a great paycheck and they're, you know, they don't need a certain amount of money to live the life they want to live. But I just find people's motivations really fascinating.
Yeah, I think some people, they're also scared, right? They're like, I want to make as much money as while I have the opportunity to make it, because I don't know if A, I would want to do this in 10 years, or B, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this in 10 years. So I think fear drives some of that as well, where people are just like, I need to make more and bank more right now because I don't know what this is going to look like for me in 10 or 15 years. And those are the conversations we're having with our gyms right now. It's like, what's your 401k plan for your staff members? And they're like, what do you mean? And it's like, you can't say that you want to build, you know, a sustainable business for you and your coaches, and you're not thinking about your coach's future. And usually what comes out of that is, I didn't even think about my future. And it's like, ooh, yeah, you need to start there, right? It's like, you're not going to own this gym and coach 50 clients for the rest of your life. So it's like, what does this thing look like for you in the future? So those are the conversations that we're having, and they're such good conversations to have because I think we have very unique coaches, and especially gym owners. And, you know, I would say coaches that own OPEX gyms are just, for whatever the hell this means, higher level thinkers, where they're thinking about, you know, what the business, where they want the business to go. They're thinking about the coaches inside of the facility. They're thinking about the clients. They're thinking about long term, and that's always like, that fear is always in them, where they're just like, what's next, right?
Do you have a recommended exit strategy, or does it look a little bit different for everyone, like at retirement?
Yeah, I think it looks different for everyone. You know, typically when we're building businesses, we build them to sell them, right? Because like, we don't want to work in that thing forever. But in fitness, it's just different, right? It's like, especially in our model, it's like, let's say you build a great fitness business with 200 clients. You're bringing in, you know, $60,000 a month, and you want to sell that thing. How much is it worth? What is the valuation on your gym? It's not based on your revenue. It's not, because there's relationships inside of that business, and once you're removed, there's nothing to say that all that revenue goes with you or just leaves and goes somewhere else, because it's a different type of business, right? Like, it's not like a subscription-based business where it's like, Georgia, if you owned a company, you sell it, I come in and subscribers are still there. It's not that. Most of those subscribers in our model will probably leave because they're like, I'm here for Georgia, not you, you know? So we hear that very often. So yeah, the exit strategy has to be, you know, how are you setting yourself up financially to be able to just call it quits and exit altogether? And the reality is most people these days don't really want to do that, right? We're no longer in the world where it's like I'm 55, 60 years old. I'm going to stop working, go, buy a cabin and just like hang out for the last 20, 30, 40 years of my life. A lot of people now like retire, and we just see that in the real world, right? Where like retirement's being pushed to the right and to the right. And a lot of people don't even have the opportunity to retire anymore, right? Because they don't have the money to do it. So I think your exit strategy needs to be personalized to what you want to do when you're 70.
Yeah, I have this like utopian idea in my brain right now where a gym owner spins up their business and they have their younger coach underneath them and they sell it off to their coach, and it's just like it passes down through the generations, this OPEX gym, and in 200 years it'll still be around under another coach in that lineage. I think that'd be pretty beautiful.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, right? But I think when we start looking at how we scale this thing, coaches / owners are starting to think about how do I build more of these things without me having to be directly involved in every one of our facilities or every one of our LLCs that we spin up. And that's kind of going on behind the scenes right now in the OPEX gyms ecosystem, where there are some owners that are thinking, how do I own this country, right? And those are really fun conversations to have, where it's like, hey, I want to actually license 30 of these things in this country, and I don't want anyone else to be able to have my territory. And it's like, it's a tall task, right? It's like, we would love to support you in that, but you have to show us proof that you're capable of doing it. So that's where some of our gym owners' heads are, is they're like, what does scale actually mean? And by definition of scale, it can't involve you every step of the way, or that's not scale, that's just more work.
Anything you'd like to add to wrap up creating a sustainable business?
No, just look at your business very, very critically and assess it, right? Like, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Are you making the cash that you want to make? And if you're not making the cash you want to make, why is it? Are your expenses too high? Do you just simply not have enough clients? And just look at those things critically. And if you don't know the answers to those things, sign up for Business Accelerator and we'll help you.
Look at that product placement right there.
No, it's real though. Yeah, we have 5 unbelievable mentors that are, running that thing, and we've just gotten such great feedback so far, and those mentors have done it, right? They've built those businesses, and they're still refining their businesses, and they're still asking those questions as to what does scale mean to them. So yeah, I mean, that's an easy one for me.
Yeah.
Do that thing.
So next question, it was related to jumps, right? How to create more explosive jumping.
Oh man, yeah,
I know, total like 180,
yeah,
right?
We just turned. Yeah. So I think the question was, how do I increase my explosive jumping power? Gosh, yeah, we can go all day on that. And it depends on where the person that wants to do that is lacking, right? But just as like a framework, start with strength, right? And then once you're strong enough to be able to jump really high, then look at the skill of jumping and refine the skill of jumping. So when we start looking at force development, strength and how much power you can put into the floor makes a huge difference. And we also have to look at a genetic factor, where it's like some human beings are just more genetically gifted to be able to jump higher than others, right? It's like, there's humans out there that have 42-inch verticals out of bed, like, and they've done nothing, they've trained nothing, they're just bouncy, they just do that. So one, I would look at strength. Are you as strong as you should be or need to be? And we could talk about prerequisites to that. It's like put a barbell on your back. Can you squat 1.5 times your body weight, right? I know we say 1 time to just be able to do the activity, but are you squatting 1.5 to 2 times to start to look at, okay, am I maximizing that? Once you get around that 2 times body weight, the more strength you add isn't going to actually improve your vertical jump, right? So look at 2 times body weight kind of being that like marker of, okay, I'm really strong relatively, and then stop squatting, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're really strong, and then now look at jumping and mechanics of jumping and look at where you can refine those things.
Yeah, as someone who is not a genetically gifted jumper. I can so relate to that comment you just made about remember genetics.
Yeah, genetics are important. Very important.
I think that hit that one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and just on the genetics piece, to realize like what your capabilities are genetically, just think about your time as a young kid on the playground, and think about how you compared to other kids on the playground, right? I remember looking back, being in, this is a funny story, 8th grade. There was this guy, his name was Marvin Jones, and this kid was my size, and we were on the 8th grade basketball team together, and this kid was dunking on 10 feet, and he was like 5'3".
I assume that's impressive, right?
Extreme. That's like Emma going into the Phoenix Suns arena and dunking.
Got
yes,
it. That sounds good.
Extremely impressive. So that kid had some unbelievable genetics. I lagged a little bit behind him, but I just remember like being in 10th grade, right, and playing 10th grade basketball and being able to dunk a basketball at like 5'9", 5'10". And there weren't a lot of kids that were doing that. And I didn't realize that was like anything special, but I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I had some pretty good genetics to be able to do some things like that.
You've got some lucky sons who will follow after you, right?
We'll see. Time will tell.
No pressure, guys. Last question was, do I support the Cardinals?
Yes. So for context, Georgia said, "What are the Cardinals?"
I feel like that answers the question, right?
So the Cardinals, just in case you guys are like Georgia, they're the Arizona Cardinals, and they play in the National Football League. That is the NFL. And we are in Scottsdale right now, and we are a neighboring city to Phoenix. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the world. Fact check me.
5th or 6th.
We'll
looked
say
this
5th.
up. I remember we looked it up at lunchtime one day.
We'll say 5th.
Okay.
Emma, can you delete that so I'm like so certain?
Did you say the world?
In the United States.
Yeah, not the world.
Sorry. Emma,
but that is like some like American exceptionalism.
Yeah, I know, right?
On display right there.
I looked at Georgia and I said world because I was thinking Australia. But 5th largest city in the United States. But anyway, the Arizona Cardinals play over there. And he also asked something about Kyler Murray. You don't know who Kyler Murray is. He's a quarterback. He's number 1. He's like 5'9". He's unbelievably fast. He's very genetically gifted.
Okay.
Very fun quarterback to watch. But do you support the Cardinals?
Probably by default of living here, yes.
Okay.
Have I ever seen the Cardinals play? Yes, I have actually. Yes. I went to a Lions versus the Cardinals game because I lived in Detroit prior to this, and the Lions were here. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry that you lived in Detroit.
Yep.
Sorry that you had to watch the Lions play football.
I hear that they're terrible.
Just kidding. Anyone that lives in Detroit, it's a great place. But the Lions are atrocious.
They would all agree with that.
Yeah. But so you went here in Arizona?
Yeah, I went here.
Awesome
so I have
stadium.
seen the Cardinals. I guess I'm a fan.
What year was that?
That was last year? Yeah, end of last year, I think.
So yeah, Kyler Murray was the quarterback. He was the
I'm
little,
a Kyler Murray fan.
Yeah, he was the little guy. He has steps like this.
They all look pretty little when you're sitting up in the bleachers.
Oh, but he's exceptionally little.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like a 5'8" guy standing next to like 6'8" guys.
Got it.
Yeah, he's very little, very talented. So,
all right.
Yeah, she supports the Cardinals.
There we go.
That's
that
it.
answers that. Well, I think that wraps up our Q&A for the day. And next section, we wanted to get into some chat around the holidays and training clients through basically the month of December, which can either be, I've seen it go kind of 2 ways, Carl, or 3 ways. Way number 1 would be like nothing really changes and everything's cool and we're feeling super good and aligned. But 2 kind of negative ways I've seen this month go for coaches and their clients is either it's like a 4 to 6 week like binge, skip training sessions, like do whatever we want to do, happy hours every day, or on the other side it becomes honestly, you see patterns of disordered eating and people become really anxious about, what they're drinking, what they're putting in their mouths. They try and over-exercise to make up for, some less than ideal nutrition. So I guess that is a long way of saying, let's talk about how coaches can help their clients avoid either of those 2 paths and end up somewhere more in the middle.
Gosh, I think this is actually a really simple conversation. I think as a coach, like if you're coaching someone in a 1-to-1 model, you just teach that person the rights and wrongs during this time, right? And I say rights and wrongs intentionally, because it's like, what the hell does that mean? The rights and wrongs relative to, how we view fitness, right? It's like fitness is something that should be sustainable. Fitness is something, well, it's, when I say fitness, I mean health. I mean like everything, right? Fitness is something that should always be apparent, no matter what holiday it is, what day it is, who you're around, no matter what the case is. And every human being should be adult enough to be able to make their own decisions, right? So, and I think if a person knows what's right or wrong based on what their intentions are, they should have the ability to make the right decision 100% of the time. And the right decision doesn't always mean like this or that. The right decision means I'm going to make this call and I'm okay with it. That's all the right decision is. So as a coach, you have to teach people how to view it that way, right? Like, we've all had clients where they're just like really down on themselves because they missed 2 training sessions and they think the world is coming to an end. You can go a couple routes as a coach. You can shame them like, hey, you said this shit was important to you. Why are you missing these training sessions? Or you can be like, hey, like life happens. It's okay. If we were to look at the adaptations you would have gained from that 90 minutes overall of training versus, out of the 365 days out of the year, it actually doesn't matter, right? It's like, it's not a big deal. Let's just get over it and move forward, instead of like, sulking in like, I missed the training session. I'm not good. I'm less fit. I'm less healthy. It's like, that's just not the case. That's not how this thing works. So it's almost being able to brush things off while still staying true to what your goals are and having the right intentions. Because I know we talked about, prior to jumping on, we talked about just, pressures of, holiday parties and happy hours and this and that and that. It's like you have to not lie to yourself, and you have to be okay with the decisions that you're going to make, instead of like going to that happy hour holiday party saying like, I'm going to eat 4.5 ounces of chicken and I'm going to have about 200 grams of rice, and then I'm going to wrap it up and I'll put that in my MyFitnessPal and everything's going to be okay. It's like, just go into that and think like, hey, I'm going to, enjoy myself. If I enjoy eating with other people, I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. But that doesn't mean like sit in the corner and eat like 3.5 pecan pies, right? So I think kind of just setting our clients up for success over the holidays while aligning what their real goals are, and having a couple bad days, because what are there like 2 or 3 days of holidays over the next 2 months? It's like, if you have 2 or 3 off days, that's not going to derail anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think the workout side is fairly straightforward for us, given that we're working with our clients in an individual design model. It's fairly easy, like so long as you have people prepared for this, to give them workouts outside of the gym, to encourage them to, go out and exercise with their families and go for a walk together, go play football in the park, whatever it might be, go skiing, get outside or snowboarding because it's way cooler. Get outside.
All right. You heard it here.
Get outside and like move with your family. That side is fairly straightforward for us, but I do think it's those conversations around like eating, how to behave around family, maybe not having a very supportive network where you have pressure put on you to eat or do something a certain way that becomes like a little bit more challenging for people. So let's say, you have this stress of being around family or not being around family, and just like other people's expectations. Like how do you approach that in conversation with people? Like how do you get over that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple pieces to it. A would be, don't set your clients up for failure.
Yeah.
Right? So like, let's say that, you're coaching someone and you're dialed in on macros. It's like, don't have a consult with them and be like, okay, over the holidays, we need to stay dialed in on macros no matter what's going on in your life, right? So you have to have the ability to know what that person can accomplish or not. And even if someone can accomplish something, it's like, what are the ramifications emotionally from like going into a situation and like not eating with their family or not enjoying themselves. So just being okay with saying, hey, let the reins go for these couple days, and kind of trick them. Just say like, hey, it's part of the program, right? It's like, hey, there are actually benefits from going off of the program, right? That we can take advantage of during this time. And then the second piece would just be, for people to be leaders, right? So imagine if we were having a conversation on the other side where it was like, man, I go to these parties and everyone's eating so healthy. I don't know what to do. What do? I need advice. How do I eat terribly? It's like we don't have those conversations, right? Because those people are the majority, like the less than healthy eaters and all of that, right? It's like we need to kind of like fly the health flag as well. It's like go to those parties and you influence people, right? There's actually been a number of studies done where people would go out and they would go to a restaurant, and food choices around the table are usually positioned off of the first person that orders. So if we go out to dinner and let's say it's like, our families go out to dinner together, Georgia, and just so people don't think Georgia and I are just like, hey, you wanna go out to dinner? We've done a couple of lunches. We're good. We all go out to dinner.
Not a date.
we go out to dinner, and it starts with me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to have any drinks tonight. I'm going to have, this really like clean, healthy meal. Everyone's going to naturally steer toward no drink and ordering their food a little healthier, right? So it's like we can actually influence the people around us. So when we go to these parties, let's try to be that influencer, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm going to, make healthier choices, and maybe that'll rub off on the other people at the party, or maybe not. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
I love that. I really love that idea. I guess the other thing is, like, what are some areas that a coach could really focus on with their clients through this period that are going to help them reduce overall stress and just generally feel better? Like, and I'm leaning into basic lifestyle guidelines, but like, what would be some main areas you would focus on?
Yeah, I think rest and recovery is really important during this time. I think we kind of get into the rat race of like, no matter how much stress gets put in our bucket, we're so like, I still need to get this done, and I'm like that, right? Where it's like, I'll notice over times, in periods of times, stress will start to accumulate, and by stress I just mean like more things will happen, right? But I'm like such a I'm such a creature of habit where it's like, I still have to wake up at this time. I still have to, do this for breakfast. I still have to train at this time. You know what I mean? So I like continue to do those things. So I think if people start to bias rest and recovery over adding more stressors to their day, we're going to come out of this thing, the holiday season, just fine, right? So still stick with your rhythm. It's like if you still exercise at 6 in the morning, still do that. But the things that you're doing inside of that exercise session, maybe those things are actually relieving stress or taking stress away instead of adding it, right? So you're not doing a bunch of like hypertrophy and a bunch of volume, or you're not doing a bunch of intense anaerobic or aerobic work, right? It's just like you're doing nice, easy exercise, and you're biasing sleep, you're biasing getting enough water, you're biasing getting sunshine, and all of those things that we always talk about. But I think just really focusing on how hard can you rest and recover instead of how hard can you train over this time, I think would be beneficial for some people to look at.
Yeah, I really like framing it that way. Okay, another area inside of this, booze. Like, how do you approach alcohol with your clients? What's your general stance on that, Carl?
Oh man, that's
another loaded question.
Almost seems like a political question.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think what we have to understand is because we've gone through, or there's a lot of people that talk about, how do I fit alcohol into my nutrition plan? Like, is alcohol 9 calories per gram instead of 7, instead of 4, 7, 4, 15? Like a bunch of things have been proposed, but it's like I wouldn't look at alcohol that way. I would just look at alcohol for what it is, right? It's like this poisonous substance that you're putting in your body. And as long as you don't overdo it, you're probably going to be okay. And overdoing it is so different for so many different people. I just think that we'll come out better on the other end if we try to eliminate or limit alcohol consumption altogether, not just throughout the holidays and stuff like that. And for some people, you have to eliminate it because they can't control themselves when they start it, because alcohol is a mind-altering drug.
Yeah.
So I know I kind of came out with a joke, but yeah, alcohol can be a very serious conversation with some clients because once they start, they can't stop.
Certainly. And people also like couple it with a lot of other behaviors as well. You know, they associate having that beer with eating a cheeseburger and fries. And it just becomes this kind of cascade effect where one thing leads into the next. So,
but there's like reasons behind that though, right? It's like, you know, when we drink alcohol, what increases? Like dopamine increases in our body, right? So when we're feeling like loose and, you know, fun and, oh, no worries in the world, it's like we see this big juicy cheeseburger, and when we weren't under the influence, we'd probably be like, I don't know, I'm good. I know how that makes me feel the next day and all of that. But when everything's good and you're going with the flow, you're just going to eat that thing because it's going to make you feel that much better. So that's just what alcohol does to you, right? So sometimes people can't actually control themselves when they're under the influence of alcohol because their mindset is just completely different.
yeah, I think it's really important to recognize that and have those conversations. And gosh, I know some people that can fit it into their lifestyle, and you know, it's this occasional thing that they do with friends and it's fun. I know we've shared a kombucha together before, not the same kombucha, but we've
COVID.
yeah, no, germs, cooties, ew. But we can have a drink, be social, and then like get on with our lives and not have that derail everything. But it can be a very negative, you know, problem for some people, and a situation where you may have to refer out to.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's a conversation that is not within the scope of practice for a
definitely.
coach.
Yep.
Cool. Do you think we've hit the holidays?
Yeah, I think so. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I look at all the media that goes out around this time around how to stay healthy through the holidays, and the amount of concern there is for that, and it confuses me. Like, why are these questions that we have to ask? And yes, I think there are absolutely like tactics that are useful for coaches to put in place with their clients to, you know, arm them with the education they need to make it through parties, to make it through Christmas, to have a really great guilt-free time, enjoy their time with loved ones, eat that piece of pumpkin pie, and then like move on from it. I think there's conversation that has to happen, but why has it become like such a big thing? I think it's because we're like living lives where we're, you know, going about not really thinking about whether this choice is aligned with what our end goal is and what our priorities really are in life. So it just makes me a bit sad.
I actually don't even think it's as big as a problem as most people think. I think there's a lot of companies that see it as a marketing opportunity, and they want you to think that, you know, going to that party and eating that pumpkin pie is going to derail your entire life, but they have the answer for you, right? It's like, buy this thing, buy this fitness program, it's going to change everything for you, right? So very few times have I seen someone go through the holidays and basically derail everything they've ever worked for in their entire life because they had a couple off days, or they kind of went off the rails with food or you know, alcohol or something like that. So I don't think it's as big as a problem as most people make it seem to be.
I would agree with that it's not a big problem in terms of like going off the rails and moving away from their fitness goals, but I do think it creates guilt and anxiety. And a lot of the time I do agree that's like marketing companies and fitness companies preying on people's insecurities and their fears and making them believe that it's a bigger issue than it actually is. And then all of a sudden it is an issue because they've imagined it to be
and
one.
even like, gosh, you see things now where it's like intentions are really weird with fitness companies where it's like they're good, right? Because they want people to exercise, they want people to move, but they are still preying on like the whole like new year, new you type deal. And then even people that are like saying publicly that they're against that, it's like, why wait until the new year? Like, start now. It's like, don't do it next Monday, don't do it after Christmas, don't do it on the 1st. It's like you're saying the same shit, you're just saying it in a different way, and you're just getting that person inside of your thing a little bit sooner. And we're coming right out of that, right? It's like Black Friday stuff, right? Gosh, and it's human nature, right? It's like we all want to, when we start looking at like, you know, dopamine hits and stuff like that, when we feel like we got a good deal, we get a dopamine hit as well. You know, I bought a couple things on Black Friday, right, for like Christmas gifts and stuff like that, because I'm that guy that's like always looking for a really good deal, and I was like, I think I'm like one-upping. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I got them. I got a good deal. And actually, they got me because they got me to buy their thing.
Totally.
Right? So, yeah, I'm taking that in a totally different direction. But I agree with you that it is an issue, but I think it's an issue because people are told that it's a really big issue.
Yeah, indeed. Gosh, I got a new bed for Black Friday.
Oh.
My rest and recovery is going to go through the roof, I think, over the next
What
month.
kind?
Tuft & Needle mattress and frame.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
Sponsors of the show now.
I guess so. Tuft & Needle. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
20% off. Yeah, I'm excited. I've been sleeping on this lumpy mattress that was a hand-me-down from my in-laws for so long, and we're finally ready to graduate into our own bed. I'm very excited.
Congrats.
Thank
Tell Jacob
you.
I said the same.
I will
Jacob,
let
if
him
you're
know that.
watching or listening,
He is not watching or listening. He does not care what I have to say. All right. Well, I guess would love to just chit chat a little bit about like what we're doing as a company, how we've kind of shifted over the last year, given that we are wrapping up 2020. And gosh, it feels like yesterday that we were standing in your office that one morning trying to figure out like what is happening with this COVID situation.
man.
Are we working here? Are we going home?
Yeah,
I
that,
mean,
that was me, you, and Emma.
Yeah.
We're all in this room still
we are.
together.
We're here together.
We survived it. Hopefully we get out of this thing.
I hope so too. Yeah. Do you want to just like update everyone a little bit on what the evolution has been these last 9 months?
Oh man, yeah. Last 9 months, a lot, right? You know, we said goodbye to Jim. So he resigned as CEO, and you know, Jim's a lot of people watching. They know Jim fairly well, and he's done a lot of awesome things for OPEX, and you know, it was a pleasure to kind of step in that role that he left. So that happened over the last 9 months. You know, we made a big decision to, you know, build something digitally, right? So we officially are getting out of True Coach as a company, and we're building our own thing, Coach RX. And you know, True Coach has done outstanding things over the past, gosh, it's already been 5 years since they launched their thing back when they were Fitbod, and a lot of changes happened on that side with you know, Casey Jenks, their CEO, resigning, them selling the company, all of that. So they'll continue to push forward and do great things, but we're going in a different direction than them. So we decided to build our own thing. So we're actually a week away from beta testing that thing. So really excited to get that rolling, and we've been working on that thing for a little over 9 months. But yeah, we've been working on that in the background for a while. COVID affected us, right? It's like we're in this really big building right now, shooting this podcast, and we're getting out of this really big building. We went fully remote. We made that call, gosh, 4 months ago, I believe it was, to just say, hey, no matter when the world goes back to normal, we're going to stay a remote company. And I think that, you know, that was a beneficial decision for us because it made our staff's lives better. So we had some staff members that moved away due to, you know, spouses getting jobs and career opportunities other places or going back home, and we were able to keep them on as staff members and keep our tight-knit group together. So that was really cool. And we have people that live a little bit further than they would like to drive on a daily basis from HQ. So they have the opportunity to work from home. So we're remote. So we're selling this thing, and we're moving into a smaller location with a couple offices, of course, a gym, of course, a studio, and all that. So gosh, that's probably about a week away as well. So yeah, so we're excited to get over there. And yeah, we're still doing our thing, right? It's like, you know, we're still, you know, focusing on CCP and making the program the best that we can possibly make it. And we're still focusing on our OPEX gyms and making those gyms the best gyms that they can possibly be. We're navigating the nuances of being a remote company because there are negatives that come along with that as well. It's like, you know, you don't have the hallway run-ins anymore. You don't have the team lunches on a daily basis. You don't have all of that. So I think we'd be lying if we were to say like, oh yeah, everything's great. So we're trying to figure out how do we fill those gaps, because they are gaps, and we have a really tight team here, and it's just really important to us to keep that. And you know, I would say that you'd have to be not a special person, but a specific type of person to work at OPEX to like be all in on what we do on a day by day basis. So just ensuring that we keep a really tight team. So we're really focusing on that as well.
Yeah. So I guess reflecting on what you've seen in our team and our team members, the, I guess, positives and negatives of shifting to a remote environment, because a lot of coaches are working with clients who are experiencing like very much the same. They've gone from working in an office surrounded by people and the fun of that and then the stresses of that to working, at their kitchen table, or hopefully they have an office in their house so they can be a bit more comfortable. What should coaches consider when they're talking to their clients about that and how it's shifted their lifestyles?
Yeah, I think that coach just needs to talk to that client and understand how they feel about this whole thing, because there's some people that have gone remote over the past 9 months, or I don't even know how long it's been, 9 months I think, and they're just ecstatic, like life couldn't be any better. And there's also people that have gone remote and they feel like they lost a piece of themselves. They're just like, I'm stuck in this house all day, with these kids, and you know what I mean? Like, I think some people respond a little bit differently to, this situation and how it's going, but I definitely don't think it's all butterflies, because, statistics would show us that, depression is increased by way of suicide, right? So, there's people that aren't dealing with this really well. So I don't think that this is all positive. So they just need to understand what the heck's going on.
Yeah, like I know, just reflecting on what my husband's been through, shifting from an office for a large company to working at home has been great for him. He gets up and he goes for a walk in the morning and at lunchtime, which he was never able to do working for corporate America before. He's like eating less crappy snacks at work because they don't have a snack room anymore. His snack room is our kitchen. And I'm like, I keep a fairly tight ship in our household. Yes.
Tight ship.
But some of his coworkers are hating it. They're feeling incredibly isolated, especially people who live at home, don't have a good setup, don't love the place they live in, and just don't have a good environment. And there are some people that are eager to get back into the office, just to be around people and have that socialization. So I think it's important for coaches to consider, are your clients actually seeing people less and feeling isolated? And if so, how can you help them create connection and get those engagements outside of the workplace, if that's where they were looking to before for that?
Yeah, the reality is a lot of people live to work, right? They don't work to live. And, when we start to look at, time spent in a specific place, and you start to look at, people being in an office for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, it's like, yeah, like that becomes a part of you, so just losing that, and also losing the ability to cultivate and create culture is what we're losing right now as well. A lot of people are losing right now that are losing that. So that can leave an emptiness for some people, and it's like, what is going to fill that void, right? Maybe that void isn't the work that they're doing, it's just the connection with other human beings. And it's easy to say, like, go out and connect with more human beings, but there's some places that are like on, lockdown stay-at-home orders where they actually can't go out and connect with other human beings outside of their inner circle. By inner circle, I just mean people that live in their houses. So yeah, I think, identify what is it that's missing. Is it like a feeling of being a part of something? Is it actually having conversations with people on a day-to-day basis? Is it loneliness? Is it is it loss of connection? I think there's a lot of different issues that can come from this thing, and I think a lot of people wouldn't even know how to answer that question if you ask them, like, why do you feel the way that you feel? Like, what do you feel is missing? I don't think a lot of people would just be like, oh, it's definitely the connection that I had, and like, having lunches with people and stuff. I think they would just be like, I don't know, I just feel like different. Like, I feel lonely, like demotivated, things like that, right? So if that's the case, it's like you have to understand, or you have to figure out how you can fill that void. But I don't think that there's like one answer where it's like, if you're feeling this, go and do that. You just gotta talk that stuff through. And as a coach, most of the time, you're not gonna be able to fix it, right? But maybe just having that conversation with you is actually going to get them closer to feeling good, where they're like, okay, maybe I can create that connection with you. Maybe you're my person where I can really say how I feel and all of that, because my husband or wife, they just don't get it, right? Or like, I don't want to put more stress on them. So yeah, it depends.
It does. I do love that idea, though. A coach is not going to be able to solve every problem for every client, but they can be that mirror for the client to look back and see themselves and start the process of self-reflection and maybe start solving some problems for themselves.
Yep.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, good stuff.
Alrighty. Anything else you want to add for today's live chat?
No, we're like right on time, but no, I think think the last topic, I think we could have talked 90 minutes on that, because I do think it's a good one and something that I'm thinking about a lot right now, right? Like, what does this thing actually look like, and how are we going to look as a company in a year? You know, because we're doing okay, right? Like, we're doing well. And the staff is, we have a special group of people that work for us, though, right? Or work with us. And, you know, how do we maintain that? Are we increasing culture, or are we improving culture with being remote and kind of like all having to figure out these problems together? Or are we going to have a worse culture in 6 months because we made the decision to be a remote company? And there's little things that we can do where it's like, okay, we're going to build this great gym for staff members that are in Arizona to come in and train together and kind of have that, you know, opportunity to connect on a, you know, weekly basis or 2 to 3 times a week basis, depending on, you know, how much it's used. But it's like, that's going to be interesting and something that I would love to talk about in another 6 months when we actually realize, you know, where are we at a year plus after this thing, after going remote.
Definitely. And gosh, with so many companies taking this route, there's tech that we haven't even dreamed of, I'm sure, that is going to make connection online even better and easier. So
I just don't think it's the same, but I might be wrong.
We don't know, though. Like,
yeah, I don't think it's the
who
same.
knows?
Yeah, there's something about being able to see another human being's face multiple times per day that we can't replicate.
For sure.
Right? Like, there's something about working in conjunction with a person. Like, I think it's like 150 feet is when you start to lose the ability to recognize someone by face, right? And it's like within 10 feet of working with another human being, like, it exacerbates your connection with that human being that much more. So not having that ability to be next to people on a daily basis, I do think that, or I don't think you can replicate that through like Zoom meetings and other tech. And that just kind of goes, I think we can start to see those things when we're like, when we start to look at, think about like emails that you used to send on a daily basis to staff members, or Slack messages you used to send on a daily basis to staff members. Did that increase or decrease during this situation? Like, just think of like one person. You don't have to answer that, but just think about how your communication style actually changed. And I bet that it's worse. Mm-hmm. Not that you're doing a worse job, but you feel like you don't have as much connection to that person. Because, you know, against popular belief, we actually send more emails and send more messages when we're closer to people than we do if they're further away from us, right? And we start to see that when we move away from friends and family members, and we start to like lose contact. We don't call them as much. We don't message them as much. We don't text them as much because they're just not as top of mind because they're not right there. But if you look at like coworkers that become like friends, it's like you're probably texting them, you're seeing them on the weekend, you're asking them, you know what I mean? So I do think we lose connection. But like I said, we could talk about that for like 90 minutes. I think that'd be beneficial to hit in the future. I
agree. And I must say that I am grateful to see your face and Emma's face and Janice's face, who's upstairs today, and get to see you guys in person for sure.
I feel the same.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well,
Hi, Emma.
Hi, Emma. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you give us a like, give us a comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to the audio, please leave us a review and be sure to subscribe. And guys, we appreciate you spending the last hour with us.
And try OPEX Coffee.
Try OPEX Coffee.
OPEXFit.com. Go to the bottom. Coffee's there. Gain, pain, sustain. I had some pain this morning.
We'll
wired.
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
Guys, we'll drop the link to be able to purchase the coffee in the description below.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
To listen to more Backroom Talk, be sure to subscribe. Learn to design personalized programs with the OPEX system of coaching by heading to OPEXFit.com.